provide access to technology for all students? If so, how did that affect your education?
Yes, we all got, like, during COVID, we all got Chromebooks and stuff. I mean, in elementary school in elementary school, we didn't have that much technology, but I don't think it was a bad thing. But yeah, in high school, we all had our own Chromebooks, which was good. We could all do our homework, and good stuff.
Were there
Because the technology was basically being used while being in the class. There was no other outside resources other than going to the library, school library, or the public library.
affect your education?
When I was in school, we didn't have technology, so no, they didn't.
Question 8. Were there any resources or lack of resources in your school that affected your learning experience? Positively or negatively?
Yeah, my school had a lot of good resources. We had a whole psychologist, and we had lots of good counselors, like academic counselors. Yeah, we pretty much had like all the resources. Very, very fortunate.
No, not that I could think of. I mean, I got the support I thought that I needed.
Resources or lack of resources. I don't really have an answer for that because I wasn't paying attention to resources that were available. We did have counselors on the campus. If I needed to go and speak to them, I could. I don't know that I utilized them as much as I did my music teachers. We had the administration, obviously the APs and the principals, that if I needed access to them, I could have, but it wasn't something that I was seeking out at the time.
Any college advisors?
College was different.
Well,
because
advisors in high school to prepare you for college.
Advisors in high school to prepare me for college. Again, I didn't utilize that. Part of my background that you probably don't know is that I didn't finish high school. I didn't enjoy education, as I mentioned before, and I dropped out of high school my senior year. And so I didn't go to anybody to get information on what to do to get into college, even I didn't know how to. I didn't know for sure that I was going to make it into college.
Question 7. Did you ever experience or witness discipline in student behavior? Like, were any students put in detention? Did anyone get reprimanded? Did you experience that? Did you witness it?
Okay, well, I personally never experienced it, but I just remembered, so there's this thing called, I forgot what it's called, but there's like this special school you go to. It's like, you don't get like detention or whatever. You have to like go to this, Robbins, it's called Robbins. And so basically, all of the donors, all of the donor parents, their kids, all of the ones with the money, they would like still do the same things that the people who got sent to Robbins would do, but they would get to stay. And they would have their own parking spots. And I was like, what is happening? So yes, but also no, it was pretty, now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't really fair.
Oh, absolutely. Myself included. Back when I was in school, you dealt with discipline issues by taking you out in the hallway and giving you some licks and send you back in the classroom. And so yeah, I witnessed it. One of the things that helped keep discipline in the classroom at the time was you didn't want that to happen to you, because you'd have someone that you knew get taken out in the hallway and given some licks and come back in the classroom with tears in their eyes, and nobody else in the classroom wanted that to happen to them, so everyone behaved after that. So corporal punishment was definitely a part of my upbringing, not to mention the fact that I didn't want to get spankings at school because I knew that I'd get another one when I got home, because that's just the way it worked.
attend high school in? And if you know the district, and what was the name?
I went to school in San Antonio, Texas, and the district was called Alamo Heights.
The city is called Watsonville in California, and the district is I think it's Pajaro Valley Unified District. I also went to school in Mexico, and it's instead of Mexico, the city is now Calipan, and I was there just for first and second grade.
I am the product of a military family, so I attended school in lots of different places around the country and around the world. I spent kindergarten, first, second grade in Texas, in Llano, Texas, for a brief time, and then we traveled overseas to Germany for third grade in a town called Heilbronn, which doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the city does, but the school system, the military base that was there, doesn't exist. Spent third, fourth, fifth grade there, and then we moved to another town in Germany called Erlangen, and I spent sixth grade, I believe, or fifth and sixth, I don't remember, there. And then we came back to the States, and I spent my middle school, 7th, 8th, 9th grade years in Coppers Cove, Texas. And then we traveled from Coppers Cove to Fairbanks, Alaska, where I did my high school years of 10th, 11th.
That leads me to my next question. What was the predominant race or ethnicity at your school or district?
That would be Caucasian. Yeah, there's a lot of white people, mostly upper middle class. Even though it was a public school, it was still for like the richy rich, and it had like it was well funded, so you had good staff and stuff.
Schools or districts?
They were all Hispanic, the majority. It was because, of course, from Mexico, it was all Hispanics, and then in Watsonville, California, the most population was Hispanics.
Being military, there was a large population of all races, really. It's rather mixed. We had the white folks, we had the African American students, we had Asian students, we had people from all backgrounds, and all socioeconomic backgrounds as well. So I feel rather privileged to have come through my education years in a very diverse environment, because I learned to get along with and socialize with people from all different backgrounds.
Did you feel supported by your teachers and school staff? Were there any support systems such as clubs, counseling, and mentorship for students of diverse backgrounds?
Well, I personally felt very supported because kind of like all of the resources and stuff that were set up were made for people like me, middle class white people. But I definitely, like, for the few resources for them, but they weren't really effective, because it was just like these white ladies who were like, we support you. And so like who would want to take advice from someone like that? So they didn't, like, at least my friends didn't feel as supported because they didn't have like people to look up to who were like them. So
Months ago, at the time I went to school, there was a lot of programs for bilingual students. There's a big support on educating bilingual students.
From diverse backgrounds.
I didn't, being in a military community, I didn't really pay attention too much to that. That wasn't a topic that was discussed or brought up frequently back when I was in school. We just all came to school and we did what we were supposed to do, and we all played athletics and we played football and did band and either got along or didn't get along. I don't remember there being any particular assets available to students based off of their ethnic background. Oh.
Were there any instances where you felt included or excluded because of your identity? If so, what?
Well, like, technically no, I fit in pretty well. But I mean, as far as like my beliefs and stuff, I felt like I did not identify with a lot of the people there. Like I felt like I didn't fit in, which I was okay with. I was like, I don't want to be around you people. But
Well, what made you feel included?
what made me feel included? Well, first of all, like I was with the same kids since kindergarten. Because like the school district I go to, it was like only the same 4 schools, and so you're with the same kids for 12 or 13 years. And so I was just like going into it, like my first day of kindergarten, or like since first grade, I was like, all of the other little white girls wanted to be my friends. So I was like, okay, period. So I don't know, I guess I just always fit in that way just because of like the way I appear. But
I had my group of friends, so I was comfortable. I mean, besides being popular and unpopular, that's the common in a lot of schools. I was not popular, but I had my group of friends, and that was good.
You never felt excluded because of your identity?
No.
Included or excluded because of my identity? No, I don't recall any situation that because of my identity that I was either included or excluded. I could do the things that I chose to do. There wasn't anybody to tell me that I couldn't. There wasn't anybody standing in my way.
Question. How did your family background, such as economic status and or culture, shape your access to education?
I grew up in a very poor household. I didn't know that I was poor. My dad was the only person that brought money into the house as a military man. My mother stayed at home and raised all the kids, made a lot of our clothes. We shopped at the thrift shop a lot growing up, and I just thought that was fun. I thought that was a neat thing to do. I didn't know that was that it put me in a class that was different than anybody else. Repeat the question.
I wouldn't be going here if I didn't have a bunch of scholarships, I'll say that, but the school I went to was like a public school, so that didn't, we just like happened to live in the parameters of like outside of where all the rich people live. There was like a little triangle that got included. But I don't know, if I hadn't had access through just like luck of where I lived, then I don't know, it's possible I'd be going to a crappy public school.
How did funding or lack of funding affect your students' resources, facilities, and programs?
I guess it's depending on the activity or the event you want to go to, but there were a few clubs that we generated our own funding in order to go and travel the universities. Because the schools, they provide some of it, but we had to do fundraisers to get the rest of it.
People always talk about there not being enough money in education, but I didn't see how it either positively or negatively affected me, because we always had the things that I felt like we needed. Our band programs, I was always provided an instrument to play on. I didn't get into the funding issues. I never had any discussions with the adults about what that looked like. But I always felt like I had all the things that I needed. I always had books, I always had supplies, I always had materials necessary in order to be successful.
Were there any economic barriers that affected you or your peers' education, such as cost of supplies, field trips, transportation, etc.?
No, not really. Like, cause all the kids I went with were like, had a lot of money. That was, well, I mean, like the kids in ESL, ESL kids, they definitely did, but because,
Such as what?
like, well, I guess they would have their field trips paid for, and I don't know, it was just like clearly different that we came from different places. Like they had all of their meals paid for at the school, and they had like, they got like clothes, like when we had clothes drives, they'd get like the packages of clothes and packages of food for over the breaks and stuff, you know. I guess that doesn't have to do with education, but everyone else was like chilling.
Everyone else paid for their own things.
Yeah, like.
What was politically happening around the world when you were in school?
Politically happening around the world when I was in school.
Any historical events?
Ronald Reagan was president, and that was a big change for people. I grew up through Jimmy Carter, which was obviously very different than Ronald Reagan. A lot of different political people came and went. But again, because I was not really focused on any of that, I didn't pay attention to politics until I was in my professional career, is when I really started paying attention that there were things that I needed to look at. Now I have the opportunity to be able to go and vote, and I need to pay attention to what the things that are going on are, so that I know how it is that I believe and how it is that I want to cast my vote. But prior to that, I didn't have any knowledge of it.
I remember.
Question?
I remember in 6th grade, I think it was 6th grade, was when freaking Trump won the election, and I was like, this is not real. bunch of like MAGA people who like I don't agree with in many ways, but I also remember watching from my English class my junior year the January 6th riots. We were like watching it unfold live, and it was crazy. So yeah, that's the historical context of my school that I remember. In middle school, Trump was elected, and then in high school, my junior year, Biden won, and I went and volunteered at a lot of voting places because I felt very strongly about that. So I did actually get involved a bit, but
As far as the education that I could have received, or if I could change anything, I would have paid attention more. As an adult, I value education much more than what I did when I was in school. I didn't understand why I needed to pay attention. I didn't understand why I needed math. I didn't understand why I needed to know historical information about old people that don't even exist anymore. I didn't understand any of that. If I were to go back to school now, I would do much better than what I did then. I wouldn't be as distracted. I understand the value of what that education can do for people.